like your hygienist, you know, how can, my question would be, how can you get them to start, I don't want to say think like an owner, but be
Good
more
luck with
like a
that.
partner.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So to me, that if that patient has a treatment plan that they have not moved forward with, I'm a hygienist. It's my job as the hygienist when I see them to have a conversation, but I have to know how to have that conversation. So
Yeah,
that's the training you're talking about, Jeff.
yeah,
That's the whole, it is
So we,
sales, you know, we do
yeah,
sell dentistry, but I think hygienists need to learn how to do their exam, their perio exam, in the same way you're teaching these doctors how to do their exam. And I think the conversation and the education, the most important education that we can do in a dental practice is to teach patients what we're going to do in the exam, what we're looking for, and why, and involve them in the exam process because
yeah,
that's where you get the ownership. We have to hand that ownership over to the patient. I say this all the time. Patients come to the practice and they want to hand us their problem. Here,
mhm,
fix me, doc, right? Or here, fix me, hygienic. Just clean my teeth for me. I'm going to zone out with some headphones. You just clean my teeth for me.
yeah,
No, no, that's not what we're doing. We need to involve patients, and hygienists have to learn this skill that we're not taught that in hygiene school. But if I used to use a storyboard, pictures, and I would sit with the patient, and it only took me like 2 minutes. And I would just say, today I'm going to do this examination. I'm going to use this little measuring tool. We're going to be checking the area around each tooth. And I would go through the story of what does health looks like? What does a little bit of disease look like? What does a little bit more look like? Until, this is serious over here. And I'm going to be looking for bleeding. I'm going to be looking for plaque. I'm going to be measuring this pocket depth. And you're going to hear me say these things. So one of the things is they have to do the exam saying things out loud. And doctors already do that because they're saying it to the assistant who's recording it. Hygienists don't do that. Hygienists are thinking it all in their head, they're seeing it, and they're putting it in the computer, and then they set the patient up, or maybe they don't even set them up until the very end and say, okay, here's what's going on. It's the telling, right? It's that whole, and that sets up such a disconnect psychologically.
yeah,
People feel like they've been scolded and told that they're bad.
hmm,
People don't like coming to the dentist anyway.
yeah,
And then they feel like they're scolded. And I remember as a hygienist when I first started, I remember patients going to the front because I could hear them. And they would say, yeah, the hygienist yelled at me again today. And I'm like, I never raised my voice. I didn't yell at anybody, but that's how they felt.
yeah,
yeah.
They felt like I had yelled at them. This was a hard lesson I had to learn myself. And once I learned the reasoning and the understanding behind the way we communicate, and that I could actually teach that patient something about the exam, and then I could say the exam out loud so my patient could hear it, all of a sudden I had this connection. And I wouldn't even get through the whole exam, and the patient would be like, oh my gosh, I have problems. What are we going to do? That's what you want.
yeah.
So I think that you just still have a lot of mentoring to do.
But I agree with you, and I love that concept and the way that you said it because I say the exact same thing. It's that we're trying to help the patient to own the problem. And unless they own it, they're not going to take action.
Right.
You can't force it on them, right? It's like, no, they need to own it. And they own it through self-discovery, not through telling, right? And so, and I do the same thing. There's a process, it's called the co-discovery exam, right? Like you're telling them what you're doing and you're discovering problems together.
Yep.
And I think one of the biggest,
A true co-discovery exam means this: the practitioner and the patient are discovering at the same time.
together, yeah, together. Yeah, and that doesn't happen for the doctors at all. But but the doctors can teach the patients how to read the x-rays, and that's where they're kind of discovering together. Because what happens is, and maybe you have some insight into this, um, is the patients think, or the doctors think in terms of technicians. So they're like, can I fix this and how am I going to fix it? As opposed to,
Yeah, their brain already goes there. Yes, I got it.
what is the diagnosis? If
Right.
you focus on the
So one of the
diagnosis,
things,
yes.
yeah, one of the things that we implemented was absolutely no treatment plan, no talk about treatment until a complete diagnosis is made. And the patient understands the diagnosis, the doctor understands the diagnosis, and you both understand the consequences of that diagnosis.
When you're talking my language because you're reading my trading, the consequence of the diagnosis. Now, I agree with that 1000%. So my question is, based on what you said, is that when, yes, the doctor's saying it to the assistant, but what they should not be saying is crown.
That's right.
He's saying decay
That's
under the blah,
exactly
blah,
right.
blah,
It's the
blah.
language.
It's not a,
I
it's
Yeah.
get
not
it.
a
Yeah, that makes
diagnosis.
sense.
Yeah.
That's what they're.
So when a doctor is doing an exam, and I will tell you the doctor I learned this from when the first exam that I heard him do, I about fell over because I was like, what in the world? So you know how we use these terms of mesial, distal,
Yeah,
occlusal. You guys, okay, that stuff is Greek
I
to
still don't
to
even know what
patients.
it means. Yeah.
They don't have a clue. So dentist, he started doing the exam and he was like, the upper right second molar has well, he was doing like existing. This would have been a new patient. We're doing existing restorations. The upper right second molar has a silver mercury filling in the backside, top side, and front side of the tooth. It's an MOD. But he's calling it front side, top side, backside, inside, outside, and I'm like, what in the world?
Uh,
But who was he doing that for?
Patient.
The patient.
patient.
The most important person in the
And
room that needs to know it.
the most important person in the room. And then he would say, and this filling covers about 80% of the tooth. So automatically this patient has a vision. Oh my gosh, 80% of my tooth is a filling and it's silver and it's got mercury in it. Like, do you see how that
I love
and
it.
all he was doing was charting existing. And let's say then the next one he would say the upper right first molar has a tooth colored filling. There's a fracture line on the front side of it. The filling covers the front side and the top side of the tooth, and it's about 50% of the tooth. So now he's mentioned there's a crack, there's fracture, and he might say there's decay somewhere or. But his language, there was no talk about any kind of treatment plan whatsoever. He did not use the word crown. He did not use the word, it needs a filling, anything like that. It was just what is existing, what's going on right now. And if he got to a tooth, like he might get to a premolar and say the upper right second premolar is sound. That tooth never had a filling. There was nothing wrong with it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I learned very quickly we did not talk treatment plans until it was appropriate to talk treatment plans. Because if that patient did not understand their diagnosis and that there was a problem, there's no way they're ever going to accept a treatment plan until they accept the diagnosis. So
So,
I think that part of your problem with your hygienist, you're paying them a lot of money. They need to be taught this skill because they can do the same thing in the periodontal exam, and you're going to have a much higher rate of acceptance of those patients for both the doctor's diagnosis and the hygienist's diagnosis. Because when you involve the patient in this way, you're going to get that. The only way you're ever going to get those salaries in alignment is that everybody has to be clicking on all cylinders and working together.